Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Jamestown Public School Board to order. It is Monday, June 16th, 2025 in the Thompson Community Room at the middle school. Thank you for all those that are joining us in the audience today. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jamie, would you read the school board norms for us this evening?
The board developed norms are to share and respect opinions and speak with a united voice once a decision has been reached. Execute all duties of the school board in compliance with North Dakota Century Code. Properly prepare for meetings and commit to assessing board effectiveness and ensure high quality governance for all stakeholders.
Thank you. We have nothing under public communication. Any conflicts of interest to declare? Any conflicts of interest? Any conflicts of interest? If not, moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie?
Second.
Is that Owen? Second by Owen. We have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. Any questions? Any clarification? Would you like anything removed for further discussion? Okay. If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving on to our regular meeting under recognition, we're going to recognize our spring athletes today. So Melissa and Jacob will read your name, and when your name is read, please join me over here, and everyone will then end up on top of the stage here for a photo. And parents, feel free to come right up in the center so you get a good photo.
Recognition for baseball is Thomas Newman, All-Conference, All-State. Jackson Colpin, All-Conference, All-State. West Region Coach of the Year, Tin Ranum. Boys Golf, Jace Dillman, All-Conference. Girls Soccer, Ellie Krager, All-Conference. Hallie Adelson, All-Conference. Layla Becker, All-Conference, All-State. Amelia Newman, All-Conference, All-State. West Region Coach of the Year, Colton Altringer. Softball, Avery Graves, All-Conference, All-State. Maddie Hoff, All-Conference.
Boys track and field, Brady Hardy, All-Conference 300-meter hurdles. Graydon Thorkelson, Tristan William, Charlie Heaney, Ryan Kallenbach, 4x100 relay, all conference. Graydon Thorkelson, Noah Lynch, Aiden Scary, Brady Hardy, all conference. 4x400 relay, all conference. Edie Ramadani, Heath Hupel, John Belzer, Micah Stout, 4x800 relay, all conference. Grant Lund, all conference javelin. Girls track and field, Julia Scary, all-conference WDA champion and state second, 100-meter hurdles, WDA champ, state third, 300-meter hurdles. Mia Uland, Addison Yunk, Jalen Olson, Claire Marker, 4x800 relay, all-conference. Layla Hoffer, all-conference high jump. And that's it.
congratulations again to all of our spring athletics. Moving on our agenda under correspondence, we have a couple of thank you cards. We have a thank you for the memorial for family of Connie Offner, the Mielop family, and there's also a thank you from Fran Cybernagel saying he enjoyed his years of working at JHS and he is going to be retiring. So, thank you. Under reports, we have a report of Florida Orchestra. Mrs. Michaelenko, please join us.
Is that on already? It's on. Hi, my name is Jenny Michaelenko. I am the orchestra teacher. And this spring/summer, we took a trip to Florida with the orchestra. And we had a unique situation. Devil's Lake Orchestra and Jamestown Orchestra traveled together. And it was after school's out. The kids did a whole bunch of fundraising throughout the year. They started the previous school year raising money to go on the trip. They got to do a lot of fun things, but my favorite part was that they got to do a bunch of educational things that Disney is great with. So we did things in Florida, but we did a lot of stuff at Disney. We started off with a workshop with a Disney professional, and he worked with the group for 2.5 hours, giving them information about being a great musician, whether it's a soloist or a performance ensemble. And then the kids got to play Disney music that they had never played before. So to prep for going on the trip, we did a lot of work with music that the kids hadn't played, so sight reading things, and then just being respectful students, and they were fabulous. And it was great for our kids as well because they were working with the Devil's Lake Orchestra. It was a little unconventional for the trip. We had Robert's and Lynn's children on the trip, and we started off with an 11 p.m. rehearsal before we left for the trip, and that was the first time that Devil's Lake and Jamestown had played together. And then we traveled our way. So I'm going to show you a video that Disney put together for us as we were recording. There was a technician that put the music together, put it to a cartoon, took pictures of the kids. It's a 3.5-minute video. We'll show it on the screen, and then I'll give you a little more information after we do that. So feel free to turn around. Here are all our students, and then 2 songs afterwards, just our students playing the music that they just heard that day or got the music for that day. So for me, the exciting part about that is that the students had the skills to be able to play that music, like getting it that day. And they played 3 different things. The Frozen medley is probably the hardest, but they played 3 different things, sight reading, doing all the things that they've been learning since they were 5th graders. So they put all that to use. And then the next day, we went to Disney Springs, which is the big shopping area where the ginormous Disney store is, and they did a performance of music that we had been preparing, Devil's Lake had been preparing, and then we put that together for a performance. You can't tell how big the audience is because they walk by, and there's no covering for the audience to sit. So they hang out in the shade where they can find it. But I thought that we had a great audience that enjoyed the music that we did. And then after that, the kids got to have some fun. They got to go to all of the different parks. We spent a couple hours at Cocoa Beach. They spent some time shopping at Downtown Disney. They learned how to do things like ride a plane, go through TSA, do all the security things to get into the parks. I believe that doing a Disney trip is the safest trip you can do. We stay on Disney property. They have to ride Disney transportation. There's so much security. I've gone on this trip a lot of times with other people, and I think it's fabulous. So I'm glad that we were able to do it, that the school lets us do it. It was a great collaboration with Devil's Lake, and it was a great time as well. I like Mickey Mouse a lot, so it was fun for me too. Any questions for me?
Any questions? Well, that was fantastic, so thank you
Thank
for
you.
your work and dedication with that. Aaron?
How many total students combined went on the trip between Jamestown and Jamestown?
29 students total, and I had a lot of chaperones with as well. The Moltzen family came with, the Ackerman family, Miss Roldson came with as a chaperone, and then there were chaperones from Devil's Lake as well. So we had lots of students. 29 is a great number to combine because I understand it's an expensive trip and the kids have to pay for it or fundraise it all on their own. So being able to I had 17, Jeremiah had 12. So yeah, it was great. Any other questions?
Any other questions? All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under Board Education, we have Cultural Competency Exit Interview Results. Mrs. Jamsgaard.
What'd you do to it?
Okay. I'm Stacy Jamkard, Human Resources with the school. I have a presentation on our exit interview for all of the staff that left this year, as many of them as I could get. So the purpose of doing exit interviews, this is something that we've been doing now since I started. I think November 2022 is when we started doing them. But we want to understand what is driving employees to leave the district, if there's anything that we're doing that's causing them to leave and areas that we can improve on, so that we can support retention and organizational health. And they do the exit interview online, and then I try to meet with them and go over it to kind of have that loop back and see if they have any ideas that they weren't willing to share in the survey format. This year we had 48 departures. That number seems really big. It didn't seem like we had as many this year as we did last year, but it's about the same. It's a little less teachers. We had 20 teachers leave throughout at the end of the year. 3 of those were retirements, and then there was different reasons. Relocation was the biggest one, and I'll show that in the next slide. For support staff, that one's a little bit different because I just go from July through June. So that's how many we had leave from July 1st of last year through now of this year. And then we had 2 administrators retire this year as well. Exit interviews completed. I did a little bit worse on getting teachers this year, but I did better at getting support staff. So it's kind of about the same as what I accomplished last year. It's just a little bit different layout on who we got, who I was able to talk to on that. And then I was not able to meet with either Sherry or Mark yet, but I think Sherry was planning on doing one. The reasons for leaving, the main one, the biggest one there is the relocation. We have a lot of teachers who are moving to be closer to family, moving for job opportunities, and that sort of thing. And then the smallest one is the other, and that's the people who don't really want to say why they're leaving. And then retirement is the 11%, and then the 28% is new employment. So we did have a few teachers who went to different employment opportunities within the city of Jamestown this year, and then also some that were moving away to different opportunities as well. As far as teachers go, we didn't, from anybody that I talked to, we didn't have anybody leaving the field of education, so that was nice to see because last year that we had several who were deciding to do something different, so it's encouraging to see that changing. Hopefully long term that'll change. The things that employees like the most working for Jamestown Public Schools is their teams. Everybody that I talk to all have like a family in their unit, whether it's the science department at the high school or it's Roosevelt Elementary. The one that I talked to from Roosevelt said that if she could take Roosevelt and move it to where she was going, that's what she would do because she just loved working there so much. They like our commitment to student success and the community-focused environment. Jamestown is very supportive of our schools, and it's nice to live in a community where we have them. And then strong building level of leadership. Everybody that I talked to had great relationships with their admins, felt very comfortable going to them for advice and all of that as well. The most common suggestions for areas that we can improve on are communication from district leadership or just district-wide communication, reducing workload and improving work-life balance. That was better this year than it was the previous year. I didn't get as much of that. They are looking for a decrease of number in district initiatives and professional development. A lot of teachers with standards-based learning would like to focus on standards-based learning until they can get a grasp on that and then go from there, and then timely follow-up on survey results. I think that one was more this year with doing the vital survey networks. People are trying to figure out exactly what that's looking like from our standpoint and what that communication's going to look like and when they're going to see change that's brought from those results. Recommendations and next steps. Something that I think that we could work on is more face-to-face meetings throughout the year in the district level. I've been looking at doing like stay interviews is what I would call them, where I meet with people, just like a random selection of teachers and support staff, and talk to them about what they do like about their job, what drives them to come to work, and if they have thought about leaving, why they thought that, and see if we can kind of catch these things before they happen, so instead of doing the exit we'll still do the exit interviews, but instead of catching them after they leave, we can catch them as they're happening. Continuing monitoring and acting on survey feedback. People appreciate when I did the face-to-face interviews after they do the online survey. They like that follow-up afterwards. It gives them a chance to explain a little bit more in detail and gives us a chance to kind of explain where we're coming from and what steps we've already taken to maybe act on some of the things that they're seeing. And then gratitude. I think the biggest thing that people are looking for is appreciation. Everybody likes to feel appreciated in their job, and I think we do a good job on this. We just need to continue to do it as much as we can. Even just a small thank you as you pass somebody in the hallway, or like when we do the recognition here, that stuff is great. That's what they're looking for. Any questions?
Jamie?
I really like this stay initiative, that your idea, that I think that's a really solid idea. I'm wondering though if there's any way to like dissect the reasons for departure out more, like between, maybe support staff is driven more by relocating or where teachers are as opposed to support staff, if that were a possibility in the future.
Yeah, we can definitely look at doing that. I can tell you this year, the teachers are definitely more driven towards relocation than the support staff. Support staff are more likely to be switching jobs within the district or or not replying. I have less luck getting the support staff to tell me why they're leaving than the teachers. Teachers are usually a little bit better about that communication, but we could look at splitting it out.
For the stay surveys, were you thinking about a similar format, like an online survey and then a follow-up? Is that kind of what you were
Yeah,
thinking?
I think
with
so. I think that you get better feedback or more honest feedback sometimes in those online surveys. People are willing to put it out there, and then when I read through it, I can go talk to them about what they put out there.
that? Okay. Aaron?
Just on the recognition side, I see you raised that point. Excuse me. I think that's good, and I know, anecdotally, I hear some really nice success stories within like some of the buildings and whatnot. It'd be great to be able to have an avenue or a vehicle to bring those forward and like to the board and to the community as a whole.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff is not real big, but it's a big deal.
Right.
And it'd be nice to have that, a vehicle to kind of bring that forward and appreciate those people that kind of go out above and beyond and get them that recognition. And then also by sharing that, allowing some of the other buildings and other individuals who can take that and build on it further.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Thank you for your work. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on our agenda, Superintendent's report, Dr. Leck.
Thank you. You have my written report. One of the things that the board asked for after the last meeting was we asked school perceptions to disaggregate that community survey a little bit. So just contextually, we had 631 participants out of that almost 1,200 respondents provide commentary, specific comments. So a total of almost 1,000 comments from those individuals. And so the entire document is available, and you can look at that, and the Facilities Committee will look at that in a little bit more depth. But really the key themes, when I looked through that document, existing high property taxes and the impact of the increases, I would take that a little bit farther. How do we communicate how that aligns to we have property tax reduction occurring in the state. How can we tie those things together? But I think just existing property tax that is high was probably the most that was the largest concern. Declining enrollment and the desire to focus on maintenance of existing schools. I tie that to how well are we communicating what those facility needs are now, and how can we help to articulate those needs a little bit better. Specific opposition to closing Louis L'Amour Elementary. So one of those options got quite a bit of feedback in terms of that particular building and the desire for efficiency. We know that as a board, we were attempting to articulate efficiency in that option, but many that responded back in with the comments had a hard time seeing past that, closing that building. So that was a derailer in terms of why people voted specifically in opposition. Concerns over financial management, facility maintenance, I tie that again to how well we articulate that long-term capital projects plan. Desire to consider alternative funding methods, specifically referenced are there other measures, or we should be considering other measures? And I look again at that as how can we articulate what options we do have, Specifically, sales tax was referenced, and we know in our community, our high school was built, 75% of that cost was penny sales tax. We don't have that option, and it no longer is available by Century Code. So, but I think there's a little bit of holdover in terms of, well, why aren't we looking to different measures like sales tax? We saw that a lot of times in the comments. And then just consideration for alternative options. If not these two, maybe there's some other options that were preferred by some individuals. So a lot more in that document than just that. That's what I took out as the key themes. With that, I'm just going to pause for questions if there were any in that survey.
Any questions at all? Okay. And I appreciate the Facilities Committee to do a deep dive into this too and bring things back to the board, some trends. Thank you.
The next two, just some recommendations or considerations for the board. In the last few evaluation cycles, there's been commentary from the board. Is our superintendent evaluation the method, or are there components of that should be changed? Is it still, we created that evaluation probably 7 or 8 years ago. Should it be revised? There's been some comments from the board that perhaps it should be, or at least some revised. Some questions may be shortened, maybe some questions focused on a little bit more. In my recommendation, if you want to do that, I would suggest an ad hoc committee be established to take a deeper dive and look at that. If we don't do it now, we're suddenly going to be back in October, November again, and we'll have the same discussion. So just a thought there that you may want to consider. The next is meeting assessments. When we established meeting assessment, there's a link at the end of every meeting in the adjournment tab. That was a really important aspect of governance improvement. 10, 12 years ago. I'm not sure that it meets the same need anymore. It doesn't seem like that has had the traction in recent years that it maybe had it initially when it was necessary. And so just a thought that as a board you may want to consider, is that still relevant? We certainly, I know in the board norms, the board has been very, has had a continued commitment to assessing board effectiveness, but that is more than just the meeting assessments. You do your board self-assessment, and I would think that would still fit that need, or probably fits that need better than what you do, than just the meeting assessment. So just a thought there. As you prepare for the annual meeting in July, every year I provide a draft list of committee assignments. That is not my recommendation for committee assignments. That's the board's responsibility. I put out a draft list just based on what we did this year. And so my suggestion would be, if you have committees that you're interested in serving on, or those that you maybe don't want to serve upon anymore, have some conversations with Dr. Larson, maybe myself if you want to be considered in other committees. Let's have those conversations before the July meeting, so when you approve your committee assignments, those are reflective of that. So if we can help out in any way, let me know. And to Mr. Roberts' point, I have a spotlight. You asked about recognitions, and I think spotlights are a part of that. I think we can certainly do more, as was suggested, but the spotlights provide us an opportunity to highlight something that we think is really great in our district. And I included the report from Mr. Beta in Blue Jay Academy. Just what a great success that program continues to be. He provided some great metrics for us. But 52 students attended the Blue Jay Academy this year, and a 90% retention rate, and those are some of our most at-risk students. That is a very, very high retention rate that I think goes to the program itself and how it's structured. As a school within a school, it goes to outstanding support from the adults in the building, whether they be our counselors, our teachers, our administrators, that are continuing to check in, having high standards for learning and also accountability. But 90% retention rate far exceeds what we have been able to accomplish prior to. And I'm very proud of that, and I know that they are in the Blue Jay Academy as well. They're very proud of their retention rate, and it's something they focus on quite a bit. And 24 of those students reached senior status, and all 24 of those students achieved graduation. That is, again, very indicative of the great work that is happening in that program and by those individuals and by those students who are taking that non-traditional pathway and having quite a bit of success. So we're very proud of them, very proud of our program, and really proud of the work that happens in the Blue Jay Academy every day. So with that, I would stand for questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay. All right, so we have a couple things. I think it would be a good idea to look at the superintendent evaluation and just align it more with the strategic plan. And so if there are board members that would be interested in that, serving on that, let me know. And so it would be great to have like 3 board members do that. And we may have them at the same time have a little discussion on that survey that we do at the end of our meeting as well. As long as they're digging into it, it might be good to lump those together. And then the board committee assignments, take a look at those. If you're fine where you're at, let me know. If there's something you're really interested in as a change, let me know. Otherwise, those will probably stay right about where they're at right now. So let me know as far as if there's any changes. So, questions on that? Okay. Any questions for Dr. Leck? No? Okay. Moving on our agenda, we have nothing under old business. Under new business, and we have nothing under activities, buildings and grounds, curriculum, assessment, and instruction. Under finance, we have approval of the curriculum budget. Is there a motion? Motion by Dan. Second by Jamie. We have a motion and a second for approval of the curriculum budget. Any discussion? Any discussion? Aaron.
So on this one here, why do we need to approve a specific budget for the curriculum outside of the general fund approval that we have to, the draft that we have to have by July?
Mr. Gaylor.
If I may, I think procedurally, to receive some of the materials in time, it's been typical that we bring a budget to the board so that we can issue purchase orders that then are invoiced in July, so materials arrive in time for school. Otherwise, I'm not sure procedurally why there would be a need to approve one particular budget.
Yeah, it's more for the articulation of the curriculum being purchased as much as it is the amount that's being budgeted. So it's an ability to articulate what curriculums are being purchased.
So with the purchase order sent out before July, it would fall for this current school year's general fund?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Actually, it would be in
They're
next
in-
school,
they're
next budgeted
invoiced.
year. We're just
After July 1st,
after July 1st, next budgeted year.
okay.
but before August 1st.
But before the preliminary
Yeah.
budget is received and
Has any committee members looked at any of the details within this here?
Board committees or
Yeah.
the PD and curriculum committee meets, but they've not, other than the approved ones, each subject area that brings new curriculum forward forms a small working group. For example, 7th grade social studies is on there, and their working group determined which curriculum they would recommend, and then I review them. But that doesn't go to the PD and curriculum committee, no.
Should it?
it certainly could be routed that way. Initially, we had that conversation that would be routed through that. What was initially the PD committee expanded into PD curriculum, with the idea that we could review these purchases through that committee.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I'm asking the questions is because this quote-unquote budget is pretty high level with not a lot of transparency. So by approving this, I have no idea what I'm approving, to be honest with you, in terms of a level of detail and vetting by the board. So I kind of struggle with that a little bit. If it was vetted out at a level of detail that would be appropriate for a committee, I would feel a lot more comfortable in approving it, so.
I think you make a good point, Aaron. I think in the future, we'll make sure that this gets run through. Is that timing work with decisions being made and then when that committee meets? Mr. Gaylor,
We can
would that
definitely
work out?
bump that process up.
Okay.
Normally, we're starting in November with the groups that are up in that. If you look at that cycle that's included, there are groups that are up for update and selection. And some of them, I didn't get information until after that committee had met for the last time for the year. But we can make sure that we move that back to September or October. It's interesting to,
Yeah, and just I guess logistically, approving the budget before we approve the budget, I fundamentally, I struggle with that as well. You know, we're carving out little bits here and there and approving them before we have an idea what the big picture even looks like. And I don't know how well this does or does not fit in that big picture by, kind of piecemealing it through. So I just got some concerns on how we go about this one. And yeah, I think there's room for improvement. Like I say, I don't feel comfortable approving something that hasn't been vetted.
And Mr. Gaylor, you're saying that there was a small committee that chose
any of the new ones. Then there's
the experts in the
recurring
content
expenses, which
area,
are,
but it didn't go
annual
through.
subscriptions.
Okay.
I was just going to point that out. I was just going to point that out, that a lot of what you're looking at are recurring subscription things that we have done in the past. Delta Math is a good example. We've used that in the past, continue to use that. There is a difference between what am I looking at? The projection of what's going to be selected in a given year and then the recurring costs. It's just probably more articulated than what you've seen in the past in terms of the recurring costs. But we can absolutely run that through that committee moving forward to ensure that there's that level of connection prior to it coming and review prior to it coming to the board level.
I think we've had a long-standing history of approving this at this time of the year. I also wonder that it wasn't always subscriptions. It was ordering textbooks that had to be, and so it was definitely a timing thing in order to get the materials in time for school start.
Yeah, this is certainly in more depth than what has been provided in the past. In the past, it was just a new curriculum. If we were approving a new ELA curriculum, I don't believe in the past we've gone this depth into recurring subscriptions, for example. Those were just built into our Title II budget and approved at that, at the preliminary budget.
Owen.
I'm looking at the itemized list, and it looked like there's a curriculum total, and then there's negotiated savings and cuts, and then a delayed cost internal development, and then there's a number for reduction from forecast. Could you walk us through?
Yeah, so at the request of the board and superintendent last year, I tried to do a projection and looking at a 6-year curriculum cycle. So we looked at the state standards, when those would be up for renewal. And I did a survey of all staff and when what the date of their materials were. And we had some that hadn't gotten to select new resources for close to 20 years. And so upon that review, we established this cycle. So the cycle sets who's up for update and selection in a given year. Some of the delayed or deferred costs are those that chose not to update their resources, or they chose to do curriculum writing to use their existing resources to update for that curriculum. So there's some savings there. And then the $52,000 is it ranges from everything from some of our licenses were a site license, but we closed a building, to duplication, which the board requested last year at this meeting for me to look at, and spent a good chunk of time looking through for duplication and really pushing our instructors. Post-COVID, when everything was, hey, try our program for free, now there's a cost with it. We did end up with some duplication to the tune of being able to eliminate sites and duplication. We found some significant savings in those recurring expenses as well. So that kind of maybe breaks down that part of it. And so it's significantly less than what I had projected in that long-term budgetary impact. And that's due to those two things, people choosing not to update their resource and doing it themselves, or in some cases, I just am pushing that to the next year because it's really a deferred expense. If they chose not to this year, will they have the option to do that or not? I think, finances will dictate that, but also we want to make sure that we're still accounting for, that we didn't replace those books, so we don't end up in the same situation where we have some books that weren't replaced for 20 years and some books that are still on cycle, so to speak. Yeah.
Dr. Leck?
Well, and one thing, what the mistake probably falls on me, named the action item approval of the curriculum budget to Aaron's point, it's wasn't really intended to be, I probably should have worded that differently than approval of the curriculum budget. It's approval of the 25-26 curriculum. It's not intended to be the budget for the budget, but it's, when I looked at the depth of information that was provided by Mr. Gaylor, we could have called it something different than but approval of textbooks, which is what has been the longstanding action item, just doesn't seem to fit the bill based on what we were provided. But I could have worded that differently too.
Dan?
So there's a line item in here for SRO. So this also reflects the SRO, our portion of the SRO salary? Is that correct?
That
Or is
is
that
included in the Title IV typically, and so that's why that's in there.
Okay, so it gets, okay.
Owen, did you have another question? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. So we have a motion and a second for the approval of the curriculum budget. Any more discussion? Any more discussion? If not, yep, let's do a roll call, Christy.
Melissa Gleason. Owen McKenna.
Yes.
Jamie Bear.
Yes.
Heidi Larson.
Yes.
Jacob Meyer.
Yes.
Dan Tweeten.
Yes.
Aaron Roberts.
Yes.
7 yes.
Motion approved. And just recommendations. Mr. Gaylor, thank you for doing the work that we asked you to do last year. And let's just, with the recommendation to run this through the PD Curriculum Committee at the next budget cycle for this. So thank you.
And just a reminder, Jason Rohr serves on that PD Curriculum Committee, so the board is represented on that committee.
Okay, thank you. B, approval of the NDSBA membership renewal. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie. Is there a second? Second by Melissa. We have motion and second for approval of the NDSBA membership renewal. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. General fund balance and the monthly financials are there for your information. Are there any questions for Christy at this time? With that, okay. Under operations, we have approval of the 2025 to 2026 technology plan. Is there a motion? Motion by Jacob. Is there a second? Second by Dan. We have a motion and a second for approval of the 2025 to 2026 technology plan. Discussion. And Mr. Armitage is here to answer any questions.
We did our annual review of the technology plan, which basically includes getting rid of the programs we no longer use, putting the programs we in, keep our membership up to date, things like that. As far as the district ourselves, well, we used our last 2 years of E-rate, and we will be putting new switches across the district this summer. Middle school and high school got brand new laptops last year. Elementary will get them this year, and for the first time since I've been here, the new machines are actually here. The laptop showed up the day after school got out, so it was just, I'm still recovering from that shock. We will be pulling our technology out of Washington that is not in use by the summer program. We will be redistributing those into the other elementaries. We have purchased enough interactive panels to do the middle school mainstream classrooms. We'll still have some shortages in the special ed rooms, but we will pick that up as we go. And then these projectors will also be taken down to the elementaries, and we'll replace and start putting short throw projectors into the elementaries, get rid of the overhead ceiling ones like we have here. We'll put a short throw in here. We'll get newer one for that one. So we're updating our projectors as we go this year as well too. So we're in our second year, going into our second year of the middle school Chromebook lease. We're in the final year of our high school Chromebook lease. And then Christy and I will be talking about what we want to do with the iPads, because they will be next to be replaced, and they'll be due for next year as well. So I believe it's much better for Christy that we're releasing our equipment instead of buying it now. We don't have that huge cash outlay, and she can budget a lot easier than we have been in the past. So any questions?
Any questions from the board? Okay. We have a motion, a second for approval of the 2025 to 2026 technology plan. There being no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Under personnel, A, approval to hire for the 2025 to 2026 school year upon a successful background check and appropriate licensure. Number 1, Julie Kudrina. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie, second by Melissa. We have a motion, a second for approval to hire for the 2025 to 2026 school year upon a successful background check and appropriate licensure. Julie Kudrina. Any discussion? Any discussion? Assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved, and welcome. Under policies and procedures, we have approval of the policies. Do you mind if we do them both together? Is that okay? Okay. Number 1, first reading of policy GACB, patriotic exercises, and second reading of policy ABCB, sportsmanship. Is there a motion? Motion by Melissa. Second by Owen. We have a motion, a second for first reading of policy GACB, patriotic exercises, and second reading of policy ABCB, sportsmanship. Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Under tuition, we have approval of tuition agreement for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Number 1, students to attend Jamestown Public Schools. Is there a motion? Motion by Melissa. Second by Aaron. We have a motion, a second for approval of tuition agreements for the 2025 to 2026 school year. Students to attend Jamestown Public School. Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Nothing under other. Any items for future agenda? If not, let Dr. Luck and myself know. We have some meetings to be scheduled. So we have teacher negotiations on Wednesday, June 18th in the Thompson Community Room. Administrative negotiation meeting Thursday, June 19th in District Office Conference Room. Teacher negotiation on Wednesday, June 25th in the Thompson Community Room. Administrative negotiation on Thursday, June 26th in the District Office Conference Room. Our next school board meeting is on Monday, July 21st at 5:30 p.m. in the Thompson Community Room at the middle school. Any other meetings that we're missing for committees or that? Okay.
We have facilities scheduled.
Facilities.
What day was that?
So we have a facilities.
No.
Let's get that one noted. Let's see if I can pull it up on mine. So you think Monday? No, it's the 30th. The 30th, okay. Yep. Okay, yep. So we have a facilities meeting on Monday, June 30th at 5:30 p.m.
And we will be scheduling a strategic plan, the next strategic plan committee meeting too,
Okay.
before July.
Okay. All right. And next item on the agenda is possible executive session to discuss negotiation strategies. Dan?
I'd like to move that we allow Mr. Meyer and Mr. Roberts to sit in on a portion of this executive session regarding the budget updates that have occurred since the start of the negotiations. there's been some significant changes, and I think that's something that we'd like their input on.
Okay, is that a motion? Is there a second? Second by Owen. We have a motion to allow Jacob Meyer and Aaron Roberts to sit in on the portion for budget updates of executive session. Any discussion?
So just for the sake of clarity, this is a motion to recognize their conflict of interest, their previously stated conflict of interest, and allow them to participate in the executive session.
That is correct.
And are you saying for the entire executive session, or are you saying only for the portion of the update?
For the portion of it regarding the budget changes since our initial start of the negotiations.
Okay.
And to receive input on that strategy.
Okay. Aaron?
Just a parliamentary question on that. Do you have to go in and come out of and go back in executive session for different scopes?
Yeah.
I would say that you would have executive sessions specific to the individuals. I don't think you could just go in and out. I think you would have to make multiple executive sessions.
2 executive sessions.
Yeah. Yep,
Yeah,
I believe
2.
that would be procedurally how you'd want to. Yep, exactly.
Different attendees, different scope of discussion.
Correct. Because you have to be very specific. You know, the motion I would suggest is very specific to the topic that you want to cover. So if you want to, yeah, I think you'd have to be very specific, and I would be cautious related to the applicability of the agenda topic to specifically to executive session. Is it related to negotiation strategies? So just a, caution there. Correct. That's what I'm suggesting. I'm just saying the topic specific would want to be very clear how it impacts negotiation strategy.
Yes,
The topic is regarding negotiation strategy. The discussion is primarily limited to the impact of the total budget versus specific proposals to be offered. Yes. So the terms and conditions will not be discussed, but the general.
And administrator
And
negotiations as well.
Negotiations would not be a conflict of interest.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second to recognize the stated conflicts of interest previously that did not allow Mr. Meyer and Mr. Roberts to attend negotiations. The motion, the second at this point, is to allow them to attend the negotiation strategies executive session with very specific topics of administrator negotiation as well as the budget impact to negotiations overall. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Does that seem okay, Christy? Yeah. No? Okay. All right. So we'll do a roll call vote on this. And as if you remember, with these conflicts of interest, if there's one no, it's not a pass-fail. It's just if it's one no, then it has to be unanimous. Yep.
Any contract has to be unanimous in North Dakota Century Code.
But
Yep.
Aaron and Jacob would not vote?
Correct. On this.
On this. Yep.
Just to clarify,
Yes, Jamie.
this is a motion for just a specific topic for the executive session. If that passes, we would have that come back in, possibly have an additional executive session for our strategy. Am I?
Potentially, this is specifically for this executive session.
Are you anticipating 2 executive sessions tonight, or are you just anticipating this one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So it'll be more narrow focused then, okay.
And clarification, the intent is for this exception to be applicable only to this executive session. The conflict would stand after this one.
Okay. And are you including administrator negotiations in this part too as well? Just negotiations
Yes.
overall?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Christie, go ahead.
Okay. Dan Tweeten. Yes. Melissa Gleason.
So we're just speaking budget. We're talking about the impact on our budget.
Related to negotiations, so.
Related to negotiations,
related
there
to
have been some
negotiations.
changes that we would like some board guidance on, but not specific proposals, general budget guidelines and awareness.
But specific to negotiation strategy.
It has to be specific to negotiation strategy, yes.
This will impact our negotiation strategy.
But the strategy will not be brought into,
It-
the topic of the strategy will not be brought into.
Negotiation strategy would be discussed, yep, could be discussed, yep, because that is one of the reasons we can have the executive session, so.
I guess, I have some concerns.
Okay, so no?
I have concerns.
Okay. Okay. So-
Yeah, no.
Yes. No.
Okay.
Okay, yes, no, okay, yep, yep, okay.
Okay, do we need
Yep.
to continue?
Yep, just continue. Yep,
Okay.
Yep. And we'll finish.
Owen McKenna?
Yes.
Jamie Bear?
Yes.
And Heidi Larson?
Yes,
So 4 to
Yep.
0.
so
Yeah.
that,
Has to be
Yep.
unanimous.
yep, so, yep, motion failed. So at this point now, we still have on the agenda possible executive session to discuss negotiation strategies.
And I believe that discussion with our negotiations and developing a strategy relative to the school board's petition in this matter in open session would have adverse fiscal effect on negotiations position of the board. Therefore, I move that the board enters into executive session and that the following members and negotiators be identified as being present. School board members Jamie Bear, Melissa Gleason, Heidi Larson, Owen McKenna, Dan Tweeten, and then Superintendent Robert Leck, Adam Gaylor, Business Manager Christy Grounds. And the date is Monday, June 16th, and start time of 6:33 p.m. And that the following topic will be considered in executive session: negotiation strategies. That the legal authority for the executive session is Section 44-04-19.1 of the North Dakota Century Code, and that the executive session will be recorded.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dan. We have a motion and a second for possible executive session to discuss negotiation strategies. The topics, the only topic to be discussed is negotiation strategies. Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We will return, after the executive session, we will return back to the Thompson Community Room to close out the meeting.
Certainly could schedule in the near future an open session that has a discussion on overall, financial outlook, if that would be desired. I think that would certainly could be applicable, although the negotiation strategy piece may not be impacted. It could still provide everybody that same clarity of what was discussed in negotiations as well. Just a suggestion.